Hello and assalamu alaikum. Myself, my name is Syed Mahad I'm an administrator of Mahad Academy, level 1 batch 7. This is my, I think, fifth ChatGPT session. In this episode, we have like something about like we shouldn't be bothered by, we shouldn't be easily bothered by small things, you know. Let's just get into it. So, first of all, as you can see, here's my screen. We'll just use the voice mode, and obviously.
There. Hope you're doing well. What's on your mind today?
Just a second. You know what I'll do? I'll change the tone. Um, I don't like this yet. Okay. How? You know what? Let's just leave it.
Hey there. Hope you're doing well. How can I help you today?
Why do tiny habits succeed where big changes fail?
That's a great question. Tiny habits tend to succeed because they're more manageable and less overwhelming. When we try to make big changes, we often set lofty goals that require a lot of willpower and can lead to burnout. On the other hand, tiny habits are small, easy to do, and can be seamlessly integrated into your daily routine. Over time, these small actions build momentum and help form lasting habits without, that mental strain. It's all about consistency and making progress step by step.
Can you give me like a long explanation, like 2 minutes each question?
Absolutely. So diving deeper into why tiny habits work so well, the core idea comes from behavioral psychology. When we break down a larger goal into tiny manageable actions, it reduces the psychological resistance we often face. Instead of feeling daunted by a massive change, we focus on small, achievable steps. For example, if your goal is to exercise more, instead of committing to an hour at the gym, you might start with just a 2 minute stretch or a short walk. Over time, those tiny actions become habits and you can gradually increase them without feeling overwhelmed. Another key factor is that tiny habits are more likely to trigger positive emotions. When we succeed at a small action, it boosts our confidence and motivation, creating a positive feedback loop. This approach also aligns with the concept of habit stacking, where you attach a new tiny habit to an existing routine, making it easier to remember and maintain. Ultimately, tiny habits help build a foundation of consistency and resilience, and they pave the way for bigger changes over time. It's really about small, sustainable progress rather than drastic, short lived transformations.
Okay, so how small can a habit be and still reshape your brain?
That's a fascinating aspect of tiny habits. In reality, a habit can be incredibly small and still have a meaningful impact on your brain and behavior. For instance, something as simple as doing one push up a day or taking a single deep breath or even just drinking a glass of water can start to reshape your brain. The reasons that each time you perform even a tiny action, your brain creates and strengthens neural pathways. Over time, these small actions build up, making it easier to perform more complex behaviors. Um, Additionally, these tiny habits help reinforce a sense of accomplishment and build momentum. This is partly due to the brain's reward system. Even small successes release dopamine, which makes you more likely to repeat the behavior. Over time, that consistency helps rewire your brain, making the behavior more automatic and less reliant on willpower. In essence, the smaller the habit, the more you can easily fit it into your day and the more it can cumulatively contribute to long-term change. It's a powerful concept because it shows that even the tiniest steps can lead to significant transformations over time.
Okay, why is starting important question? Why is starting more important than being perfect?
That's such an insightful question. The idea behind why starting is more important than perfection really ties into the concept of momentum and the psychology of action. When we focus on perfection, we often get caught up in overthinking, fear of failure, or even procrastination. This can prevent us from taking any steps forward at all. On the other hand, starting, even in a small way, breaks that cycle of inaction. It helps you build momentum and creates a sense of progress. Even a small action can lead to new insights, and that can improve your approach over time. It's like the old saying, done is better than perfect. Starting also helps reduce anxiety. It's easier to refine and improve something that already exists than to try to make it perfect from the get go. Each step you take can teach you something new, and that learning process is essential for growth. Moreover, your starting helps you build confidence. The more you do, the more you realize that perfection is often an illusion. It's the consistency and the willingness to begin that truly lead to success. In the end, it's all about taking that first step, no matter how small, and letting that momentum guide you forward.
How does repetition, even in tiny doses, build identity?
That's a great point. Repetition, even in tiny doses, plays a crucial role in shaping our identity because our brains are essentially pattern seeking. When we repeatedly engage in a behavior, no matter how small, it reinforces that behavior and slowly becomes part of how we see ourselves. For instance, if you consistently practice a small habit, like journaling a single line a day, over time, you begin to identify as someone who reflects and introspects regularly. The repetition helps to solidify that behavior into your self concept. Similarly, when we do something consistently, our brain starts to link that behavior to our identity. It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets and the more ingrained it becomes in who you are. This is why even tiny, consistent actions can lead to significant shifts in how we perceive ourselves and how we behave. Over time, these repeated actions build a cohesive narrative about who we are, and that's how small, consistent behaviors gradually shape our identity in meaningful ways.
Actually, can you give me more longer explanations like this for like 30 seconds or something? I asked for like 2 minutes.
Got it. I'll make sure to give you those longer, more detailed explanations going forward. If you have any more questions or need further elaboration, just let me know and I'll dive right in.
Just like continue on the same question.
Absolutely. So, continuing on the idea of repetition and identity, when we engage in a behavior repeatedly, our brain not only forms neural pathways, but it also begins to associate those behaviors with our self concept. Over time, these repeated actions become automatic, almost like second nature, and our brain starts to recognize them as integral parts of who we are. This process is often described in terms of habit formation, but it's also deeply linked to identity formation. For example, if you consistently engage in acts of kindness, even small ones, you start to see yourself as a kind person. Similarly, if you make a habit of reading a little bit every day, you begin to see yourself as a reader or a lifelong learner. The beauty of this process is that it creates a positive feedback loop as you start to identify with these small repeated behaviors. You become more motivated to continue them. And that consistency reinforces your identity even further. In essence, the small repeated actions we take daily are the building blocks of our identity. It's not just about what we do in the moment, but how those moments accumulate and shape the way we see ourselves over time. It's a powerful concept that shows how even the smallest efforts can lead to profound changes to who we are.
What's the science behind small consistency creating huge results?
Absolutely. The science behind small, consistent actions creating large results is really fascinating and grounded in a few key principles of psychology and neuroscience. One of the main concepts is the idea of compound growth. Just like compound interest in finance, when you apply small, consistent efforts over time, those efforts accumulate and lead to exponential growth. From a neurological standpoint, every time we repeat a small behavior, our brain strengthens the neural pathways associated with that behavior. Over time, this makes the behavior more automatic and less reliant on conscious effort. This is known as neuroplasticity, where the brain adapts and reorganizes itself in response to repeated stimuli. Additionally, there's the concept of habit formation. When we consistently perform a behavior, it eventually becomes ingrained in our daily routine. This not only makes the behavior easier to do, but also reinforces the identity associated with that behavior. For example, if you consistently exercise a few minutes each day, you start to see yourself as an active person, and that identity reinforces the behavior even more. Another key aspect is the concept of keystone habits. These are small habits that have a ripple effect, influencing other areas of our lives. For instance, regularly making your bed can lead to better productivity and more positive behaviors throughout the day. Finally, the science also points at the role of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. Every time we complete a small task, our brain releases a bit of dopamine, making us feel good and encouraging us to repeat that behavior. The cycle of positive reinforcement is what ultimately leads to those huge results. In summary, the science is a blend of neuroplasticity, habit formation, and reward pathways, all working together to transform small, consistent efforts into significant long-term proof.
Why do people underestimate 1% daily improvements?
That's a really intriguing question. The idea of 1% daily improvements is often underestimated because of how our brains perceive change and progress. We tend to focus on immediate results and big dramatic changes rather than the subtle incremental ones. This is partly due to our natural inclination for instant gratification. We want to see quick results and tangible outcomes right away. Additionally, when we think about improvement in large terms, we often look at major milestones or significant achievements, and we overlook the power of small, consistent steps. We tend to underestimate how these tiny improvements compound over time. It's like the concept of compound interest. Small, consistent efforts may not seem impactful in the short term, but over weeks, months, or years, they lead to massive growth. Another factor is that progress can sometimes be invisible or not immediately noticeable. We might not see significant changes day by day, and that can lead to a sense of stagnation. However, when we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the cumulative effect becomes clear. Moreover, we live in a culture that often celebrates dramatic transformations and big wins, which can overshadow the value of small, consistent efforts. This can make it harder for people to appreciate the long-term impact of those 1% improvements. In essence, the underestimation comes from our tendency to overlook the power of incremental growth and to seek immediate noticeable results. But when we understand and appreciate the long-term benefits, we can truly harness the power of small, consistent improvements.
Okay, so like, how do tiny wins create momentum in the brain?
That's a great topic. Tiny wins are incredibly powerful for creating momentum because they tap into our brain's natural reward system. When we achieve even a small success, our brain releases dopamine, which makes us feel good and encourages us to keep going. This positive reinforcement is key in building momentum. When we start with small tasks and accomplish them, it creates a sense of progress and achievement. This in turn boosts our confidence and motivation, making it easier to tackle bigger challenges. Over time, these tiny wins accumulate, creating a steady upward trajectory in our overall progress. Another aspect is that tiny wins help build consistency. As we repeatedly achieve small goals, we form habits and routines that keep us moving forward. This consistency is crucial because it prevents us from feeling overwhelmed and keeps us engaged in the long term. Moreover, tiny wins can also help reduce the fear of failure. when we break larger goals into smaller, manageable steps, each step feels less daunting and we're more likely to try and persist. This creates a cycle of positive behavior where each success leads to the next, gradually building momentum and driving larger achievements. In essence, tiny wins are like building blocks. Each small success adds up, creating the strong foundation for bigger accomplishments and a continuous cycle of growth and progress.
What is the easiest habit someone can start today with zero resistance?
That's a fun question. The easiest habits are usually ones that require minimal effort and can be seamlessly integrated into your routine. For example, one of the easiest habits is simply drinking a glass of water right after you wake up. It's a small action, doesn't take much time, and it sets a positive tone for the day. Another simple habit is, taking a few deep breaths whenever you feel a bit stressed or before starting a task. It's a quick, easy way to center yourself and reduce tension. Even something as small as stretching for just 30 seconds, like reaching up to the sky or touching your toes, can be a great habit. It doesn't require much resistance and helps with, flexibility and energy. Another low resistance habit could be writing down one thing you're grateful for each day. It's a simple practice that takes just a moment and can improve your mood and why the key is to pick something that feels almost effortless and can be done consistently without needing a lot of time or energy. Over time, these tiny habits build up and create a positive ripple effect in your life.
Why should habits be effortless before they become excellent?
That's a great question. Making habits effortless at the start is really important because it lowers the barrier to entry and helps you build consistency. When a habit is effortless, you're more likely to do it regularly and not feel overwhelmed or resistant. This consistency is key to forming a habit in the first place. When you start small and make the habit easy, you build momentum gradually. Over time, as the behavior becomes more ingrained, it naturally requires less effort and it starts to feel more automatic. This gradual transition is important because it prevents burnout and keeps you motivated. Another benefit is that when habits are effortless, they become part of your routine without causing stress or taking up too much mental energy. This makes it more likely for you to stick with them long term. Essentially, the more effortless a habit is, the more sustainable it becomes. In short, starting with effortless habits helps you build a strong foundation. Once the habit is firmly established, you can gradually increase the effort or complexity if needed, but the initial ease is what sets you up for success.
How does a tiny habit lower the brain's fear of starting?
That's a really interesting aspect of habit formation. Essentially, tiny habits lower the brain's barriers to entry by minimizing the amount of effort and willpower needed at the outset. Our brains are wired to conserve energy and avoid unnecessary strain. Though when a habit is tiny, it feels less daunting and more approachable. When we break a habit down into a very small action, the brain doesn't perceive it as a threat or a chore. This means that the brain is more likely to initiate the behavior without hesitation. Over time, as you repeatedly perform that tiny habit, it starts to become more automatic and the brain forms stronger neural pathways, making the habit even easier to maintain. Uh, this approach also helps reduce the feeling of resistance or procrastination. When something is effortless, we're more likely to do it consistently, and that consistency is what eventually leads to the habit becoming second nature. In essence, tiny habits trick the brain into taking action by making the task so small that it doesn't activate the brain's natural resistance. This creates a positive feedback loop, and over time, the habit grows and it becomes more deeply ingrained. It's a powerful way to build lasting habits without feeling overwhelmed.
So, like, how can you stack it? How can stacking micro habits lead to like macro success?
Absolutely. Habit stacking is a powerful strategy for building momentum and achieving big successes over time. The idea is to link a small, easily achievable habit with an existing routine so that the new habit feels natural and effortless. Over time, as you stack these tiny habits, they compound and create a larger, more impactful routine. For example, you might start by stacking a tiny habit of doing a 1 minute stretch right after you brush your teeth in the morning. Once that tiny habit feels automatic, you can add another small habit like taking a few deep breaths or writing down a single line in a journal right after that. As you keep stacking these micro habits, you build a comprehensive routine that becomes second nature. The power of habit stacking is that it creates a chain reaction. Each new habit reinforces the previous one, and together they form a strong foundation. Eventually, these small, consistent actions lead to significant outcomes. It's like building a snowball. As it rolls, it gathers more snow and grows larger and larger. Similarly, small habits, when combined, lead to big successes. In the long run, habit stacking helps you build a sustainable routine that's easier to maintain and more enjoyable. Over time, those micro habits accumulate to lead to major personal growth and success.
Alright, so why does discipline follow consistency? Not the way around. Not the other way around, I mean.
That's a fantastic question, and it really gets at the heart of how habits and discipline interact. The reason discipline often follows consistency rather than the other way around is that when we consistently perform a behavior, it starts to become a natural part of our routine. Over time, this repeated action builds neural pathways that make the behavior feel more automatic, and that reduces the need for conscious effort or willpower. When we rely solely on discipline first, it can be draining because discipline requires a lot of mental energy and willpower, and it's not always sustainable. It's easy to get burned out if we try to rely on discipline alone, especially when starting new habits. On the other hand, consistency is like building a foundation. As you repeatedly do something small and manageable, it becomes ingrained and feels less like a chore. Eventually, this consistency strengthens your habits to the point where discipline naturally follows. You don't have to push yourself as hard because the behavior is already a habit. It's almost like discipline is the result of consistent actions rather than the initial driver. In summary, when you focus on consistency first, you're training your brain and body to adapt. And once the habit is established, discipline becomes more of a natural byproduct. This approach makes it more sustainable and helps you achieve long-term success without burning out.
Okay, how can tracking something small increase motivation big time?
That's a great point. Tracking small actions can really boost motivation in several ways. First off, when you track something, you create a visual representation of your progress. This can be incredibly motivating because it allows you to see tangible evidence of your efforts, no matter how small. And that sense of accomplishment can keep you motivated to continue. Another way tracking helps is that it builds awareness. When you record your progress, you become more mindful of the behavior, and that mindfulness can reinforce the habit. It makes you more conscious of your actions and helps you stay consistent. Also, tracking provides immediate feedback. When you see that you've made progress, even if it's tiny, it triggers a positive emotional response. This makes you more likely to keep going and even push a little harder. It's like a reward system that keeps you engaged. Moreover, tracking helps you identify patterns and trends. When you look back at your records, you can see what works well and what might need adjustment. This insight can help you refine your approach and stay motivated by seeing tangible improvements over time. In essence, tracking small actions creates a sense of accountability and progress, and that keeps you motivated and engaged in the long run. It transforms the process into something more rewarding and sustainable.
Can I get like one more point?
Of course, let's dive a bit deeper. When you track small habits, it essentially gives you a feedback loop that's both immediate and motivating. For example, every time you mark off a completed habit on a calendar or log it in an app, you get a small dopamine boost. This immediate reward reinforces the behavior and makes you more likely to stick with it. Additionally, tracking provides a sense of accomplishment. Even small incremental progress can add up, and seeing that progress visually can boost your confidence and encourage you to keep going. It also helps you recognize patterns, such as which times of day you're most productive, or what conditions lead to success.
Alright, that's enough.
This insight allows you to.
So that's it, ChatGPT. I hope you had a good conversation with me. Um, I'll meet you in the next one. Till then, bye.
Absolutely, it was great chatting with you. I'm glad we got to dive into all those topics. Have a wonderful time until we chat again, and take care. Bye for now.
Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like if you like this video. Subscribe for more ChatGPT sessions like this. I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, take care, bye, and laugh is for myself.